Welcome into Picks and Parlays Bettors Edge. I'm Hannah Mears. That's Andrew Fillipponi. For more bets, head over to the Picks and Parlays app, and there's going to be a lot of them this week. And at exciting times, you're going to be able to bet the NFL all weekend long because these are Saturday games. And we're going to start with the Vikings and the Bengals. Now, the Cinderella story for Josh Dobbs might be over. Yes. It has come to an end seemingly here for the Minnesota Vikings. They subbed him after a 63-yard performance. So now they're coming into Cincinnati in the jungle, playing a team that looks like they could be playoff ready with a potential backup quarterback. 3.5 points with the Bengals in this one. Do you like this?
Well, yeah, the Browning thing has surprised, I think, the entire NFL world. I think even the Bengals, who thought when Joe Burrow got hurt in Baltimore that their season went up in flames that night. To their credit, they're not winning with defense and just trusting Browning to manage the game. He's put up big numbers. His completion percentage is over 75%. Zach Taylor gives him throws that are not asking too much of him. But this is the caveat for this game. Minnesota is such a unique defense. Brian Flores is setting records this season for the amount he blitzes with his players. It's really... The only thing that mirrors this or comes close to this is what the Giants do with Martindale. So this is for Browning going to be a whole new defensive scheme that he will see for the first time. He never saw anything close to this in college either. So with that line being 3.5, I like Minnesota. Mullins came in. He was in their system all of last year. I think O'Connell can coach him up enough in this game, even without Jefferson, to keep them in it. I think the Bengals point total comes back down to earth, Hannah. And I like Minnesota. I'm going to play them with the points, but I like the money line in this game too with the Vikings on the road.
I can definitely see where you're coming from, but I had to go with the Bengals in this one. And a lot of these games this week for me were, what has this team done lately? Yep. And with Browning stepping in, I really haven't seen this team take a step back. In fact, it seemed like he kind of was the flame that ignited this fire that they needed at this point. I think there was just there was just too much going on with Burrow that I think maybe this was just what this team needed this season at least. They look confident right now. The offense has been balanced, which is what I like. You see Mixon, he's always a threat. 79 yards, a touchdown last week. And then you have Browning, like you said, his completion percentage is high. If he plays a clean game and they spread the ball around, I think they can beat that defense. It's just hard not to see them coming into this one this week, and it's at home. Mm-hmm. You have to take advantage again of the fact that the Vikings, that offense is also dealing potentially with some injuries, and then you have this quarterback coming in. Who knows if he's going to be good? I don't love it. I don't love it at all. I'm going to say take the Bengals at -3.5. All right, our other AFC North team we've got to talk about here, Pony. The Pittsburgh Steelers heading into Indianapolis. The Steelers are in a funk, and it seems like nobody's on the same page in that locker room. But if we know anything about Mike Tomlin, it's that when it starts to be, are we going to be a 500 team, they always rise above. So in the hunt for wild card spots here, this is sort of a make or break for both of these teams. Can Pittsburgh get it done as a 2.5-point underdog in Indianapolis? I
think they will. They have an unreal history in Indianapolis and really against the Colts in general, which I get it. A lot of these games were not played by the guys that'll be on the field Saturday afternoon, but it's just crazy to think that the Colts have not beaten the Steelers since 2008. Was the last time that happened. The last time the Steelers lost in Indy was 2005. So if you're a trend better, you look at stuff like that. For me, it's more about the Colts defense, which is one of the worst in the NFL. They get sacks. That's really all they do. Points allowed, they're one of the worst teams in the entire league. I believe they're 28th in the league going into this game. I think Trubisky will be better. I think it's hard for him to be worse than he was against New England. We saw last year when he started at Carolina in December, he was actually really good. Gardner Minshew had a big hit against the Bengals. He looked woozy. I don't know what he'll play. We don't know about Jonathan Taylor yet. But I think it's a good spot for the Steelers to have a bounce-back performance after two awful games. Hannah, I have a hard time believing they're going to lose 3 in a row. So
I do too. I know that's crazy because everything I hear in the locker room and the amount of media that we listen to every week wants me to stay far away from this team right now. But I do think they have the pieces in place to beat the Colts team. The only really downfall for the Steelers right now is the fact that Mitch Trubisky is their quarterback. But here's how the Steelers can win and why I like the Steelers at 2.5. They can at least keep this game close within 1 and you'd still get this bet. The Colts right now are allowing 130 rushing yards per game this season. Now, we don't know what's going to happen with Najee Harris if he's completely healthy, but Steeler fans all year have been begging to see Jaylen Warren get the ball more. Here's where he can make his mark. Get the ball to Jaylen Warren. Keep it out of Mitch Trubisky's hands as much as you can, because we see the amount of interceptions he throws, the amount he can turn the ball over. If they play a heavy run game and just rely on maybe kicking field goals and having their defense get stops, that's sort of AFC North football that we like with the Steelers. That's why I think I like them at that 2.5 spot. I really do. We also saw possibly TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith being back in that mix, which is big for this team coming into this. So I do like the Steelers in that one. Moving into Saturday night football, we've got my Denver Broncos here. Yeah, yes, I'm still claiming them. They're heading into Detroit. Now, the Broncos really could dethrone the Chiefs in the AFC West right now, but just crazy. So do you think that can happen? They're a 4.5-point underdog headed into Detroit. Do you like the Broncos?
Yeah, I've said this on the show now for the last few weeks. I think the odds makers have pegged the Lions inaccurately, I guess I'll say. I look at the lines for them, and I think they're based more on where they were in September and October and not the team that they currently have. I think their defense is a mess. I think it's reverted back to where it was early last year, and I think Jared Goff has regressed too. I mean, the turnovers, I thought the game he had in Chicago this past week was one of the worst games he's played in the NFL in the last couple of years. Now, they are going back indoors, but look at what Denver's defense has done really since they had a bad game against the Jets and then obviously what happened with Miami. But Russell Wilson was phenomenal last week. I'm stunned that this line is as big as it is. I really like Denver a lot, which scares me because I'm so confident in them. Mm-hmm. But it's like my favorite bet of the entire week.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, which just seems crazy because it also seems like when you see the money on an underdog right now, they're a road underdog, you're like, wow, they want me to put this here. The Lions it's a sucker bet. But I've taken a couple of those this season and haven't regretted it. And the Denver Broncos are a team where I think so many people just see what they did early and just are waiting for the collapse, but I don't see it happening. I think they figured it out, and their head coach is a good reason for that. So I wouldn't necessarily say there's going to be a collapse because when you have a good head coach like Sean Payton is, I don't see this tumbling down the spout here. So I'm going to say pick the Broncos at 4.5. I've also seen this line at 5. I would say get it at 5 if you can and smash taking the Broncos at +5. It does feel like a trap, like we said, but the Lions are barely squeezing out wins in their last 7 games. And the Broncos are coming in having won 6 of their last 7, chance to dethrone the Chiefs like we've talked about. This is their moment, their time. Going into Detroit, this is a staple big win. The Lions put up points, but they also give up a lot of points. So that's why I like this being a lot closer than what maybe the numbers suggest. So I'm going to go ahead, ride with the Denver Broncos again.
Okay, so 2 or 3, we're on the same page.
We are. I don't think it's going to be like that as we keep going. So we'll see. Check in for our Sunday bets to see where we're at. But for more, head over to that Picks and Parlays app.